The desert wind tasted of dust and despair swirling around Jedediah Stone's boots as he surveyed Thorne's estate. The manicured lawn, the fragrant flowerbeds, a stark contrast to the harsh reality of the Arizona territory. He's been tracking Elias Thorne for days, the scent of sandalwood clinging to the man like a guilty secret. A single crimson ruby lay nestled among the blooms, almost too perfect to be real. He's quiet tonight, Clem remarked, standing sentinel by the veranda. The young deputy's face was grim, etched with the weariness that seemed to have settled over redemption since Silas Blackwood's death. Quiet usually means planning, Jed replied, his gaze fixed on Thorne, who stood stiffly in the doorway, a picture of studied composure. Or so he tried to project. Jed saw the tremor in the man's hands, the tightness around his mouth. The facade was cracking. "Marshal," Thorne began, his voice smooth but strained, "I assure you I am as surprised and saddened by my brother's demise as anyone." "Silas was a complex man, mister," Thorne Jed countered, his voice slow and even. "A man who made a lot of enemies. He was a businessman, Marshal, a man who took risks. Risks that involved more than just currency, wouldn't you say?" Jed's eyes narrowed, focusing on Thorne's reaction. The silence stretched, thick and suffocating. Then Thorne's composure crumbled. "What are you implying, Marshal?" "I'm implying that Silas Blackwood didn't just import New Orleans goods, mister Thorne. He imported trouble." Jed stepped closer, his gaze unwavering. "And I'm starting to think you knew a lot more about it than you're letting on." The revelation of Silas's dealings with New Orleans, the illicit trade, the smuggling had been a tangled thread in the investigation, leading to whispers of a wider conspiracy reaching far beyond redemption. Thorne's connection to it, initially obscured, now seemed inescapable. "It's complicated," Thorne stammered, wringing his hands. "Silas had associates, people I didn't always approve of. Associates who hired a drifter to deliver a message," Jed pressed. "A drifter who wore a dog hat. The description matched the man who's been a ghost at the edges of the investigation, a silent observer." "I don't know anything about that," Thorne insisted, his voice rising in pitch. Jed's gaze dropped to the ruby nestled among the flowers. "Someone went to a great deal of trouble to ensure Silas wouldn't talk. Someone who knew his weaknesses, his secrets. Someone who knew about this." Thorne's face paled, the color draining from his cheeks. "I paid him to send a warning, a threat, to keep him in line." "A warning? Or a contract?" Jed challenged. The confession hung in the air, heavy and damning. The sandalwood scent, a recurring echo throughout the investigation, seemed to intensify, clinging to Thorne like a shroud. "He wanted out," Thorne whimpered, sinking onto a nearby bench. "Silas was getting reckless. He was going to expose everything. I just wanted to scare him." "And you hired a man to do it?" Clem asked, his voice sharp with disbelief. "It was just a letter, a message. I didn't mean for him to." Thorne trailed off, unable to articulate the horrific consequences of his actions. "You interfered with a federal investigation, Mr. Thorne. You obstructed justice. And you're a suspect in the murder of Silas Blackwood." Jed's voice was devoid of emotion, a stark contrast to the turmoil that raged within him. Clem moved forward, the metallic click of the handcuffs a chilling punctuation mark. "You're under arrest, Elias Thorne." As they led Thorne away, Jed's gaze lingered on the crimson ruby, a symbol of the corruption that had taken root in redemption. The scent of sandalwood lingered, a reminder that the case was far from closed. The man in the dark hat remained elusive, his motives shrouded in mystery. "He's merely a piece of a larger game, a pawn in a dangerous dance." "Marshal," Clem said, glancing back at the retreating figure. "You think he's telling the truth?" Jed didn't answer. He knew that Thorne's confession was only a fragment of the truth, a carefully constructed narrative designed to protect someone else. The scent of sandalwood, the ruby, the man in the dark hat, they were all pieces of a puzzle he had yet to solve. He turned to face the desert, the wind whipping around him, carrying the scent of dust and despair. Redemption might have thought it was safe, but Jed knew that the darkness was still lurking, waiting for its chance to strike again. This wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. He felt it in his bones.